Okay. Okay, we're recording.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. So, do you want to introduce yourself to the people potentially watching this? I don't know if people are going to watch this.
Okay. I'm Scout. I'm a junior at SAIC, or soon to be junior.
How old
Yeah.
are you?
I am 21. Yeah, I'm 21.
You're about to be 22.
I know, I was going to say it, and I was like, do the people need to know?
Okay, so it's gonna be a pretty quick interview. I
Okay.
think I sent you the questions, right?
Yeah, should I pull them up?
No, I'll ask you them. So to start, why did you originally come to SAIC?
I wanted something that had a lot of resources, but also gave me a lot of room to explore what I wanted to do. Because I came in knowing what I liked a lot, but also knowing that there was a lot more that I would like as well. And I didn't know what that would be. And so SAIC kind of provided like guidelines and also just like all of the opportunities of whatever I wanted to try.
Mm-hmm. And you said
Yeah.
you knew what you liked. So like, can you talk about what you liked or like things like that?
Yeah. So I was primarily in just drawing and then I moved into photography. So when I came into SIC, I had really just worked with photography for like, I think 4 years. So it was my primary focus. It was also something that I just like really knew well. And so I went into their program, kind of. I don't know if they have one. And I just took classes from them. So I've been doing it for all of my time at SIC, at least like 2 or 3 classes.
Okay. So how was your experience like in those focus areas, like with photography, like in those classes?
It was good. I mean, I had to go in as if I had never taken a photography class before. So I had the intro, which was if you're someone who's kind of who knows their way around the camera, it can be like a little like you already know these things, but even then I learned new stuff and I got a lot of what I was kind of unsure about ingrained. So it's kind of like for me now. And then I moved on to a lot of concept based, and then I'm working on lighting. So the classes that they have are really in depth and they centralize around one thing because I think the goal is for you to walk out knowing it so easily. Like you could just apply it without thinking.
Mm-hmm. What about like your critiques? Like how did you feel like whenever you would have critiques, did you ever have issues or like did you ever have that thing where it was like the silent critique, like where no one talks?
Yes, I had that in almost all of my classes. Like I think it's one you're like introducing all of these artists and different types of art making and ways of thinking of like how they're going to make it. So not a lot of people are going to speak up. And then I tend to notice that if it's not something they can, I think, connect to as easily, there's going to be a lot of silence. You're not really going to hear the things that they don't understand or the critiques that the comments that could help you because it's almost like a disinterest. And that's where I find where the silence lies. And so I've seen like a lot of my teachers trying to promote talking and interacting, but you're just going to come across it in almost every class.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself can be like an informant for you to like see like why is my class not connecting with these things? Why am I having silent critiques?
Is it frustrating?
Yes, because you feel like you don't you feel like your work's not good enough for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get feedback, it's not even good enough to tell me that it's bad. Like it's not really hitting the person. So I find it really frustrating just because I also get silent too. Like I don't know what the right questions to ask. I don't know if I'm allowed to like talk in my critiques sometimes. And there's certain things that I'm trying to get addressed. And if I talk, will that kind of show that? So it's just like 20 minutes sometimes. If they set it for like 30 minutes, you're just sitting there. You get anxious. I get anxious with it.
That makes sense. Um, what about like the classes that you've enjoyed? Do you have any that you remember where you're just like, that was such a great class?
Yeah. So my first year I actually had my best class. We were in it, our women's studies, which
Mhm.
had changed to just more of like a general women's author. And I liked that better because we touched base on so many different things that involved women. So it wasn't just like more personalized stuff. And then I liked my intro to photography just because, again, I had gone in thinking that I know everything. I really don't need this class. And I came out with like so much more.
Mhm.
And because of that, while it was a frustrating class, it was in itself one of my favorite ones because of what I came with. And my fibers class, just because it was the first time I had worked with my hands in a completely different way. Like I had again come with like drawing. I took a figure drawing class, and I was having a hard time connecting to my body again. And so when I took that fiber class, it just was a whole new level of perspective and understanding with my own work. So I think it's the ones that I have really no understanding of were the ones that I really valued and really loved.
Hmm. Oh, so nice. That fibers class, was that the intro to fibers, or was that a different kind of fibers?
I think it was the intros to fibers. It was my professor was Jade, just goes by Jade.
I know
Uh,
Jade. Yeah, Jade's
he's
great.
like I he was tough in his own way.
Hmm.
Had to figure it out. Like I think that going into his class, you had to be standing on your own 2 feet. And if you weren't, like, he wasn't gonna like just kind of bring you along. He wanted you to learn it and understand it and do it your own way. And I loved that. I loved him.
Oh, okay. Now for like a negative kind of thing. What is the class you kind of hated or like least enjoyed?
I really disliked my research class.
Really? Which one? Your first or the second one?
My second one. My second one. Um, I loved my first one. It was amazing. But I just felt that one, the class itself was not actually what it was saying it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was more generalized, and I was really focusing on the topic at hand. And I also just felt like it was more with the professor for me personally. It was that you're gonna have that, you're not gonna connect with them. And that's really hard in the art school because like your main goal is to connect and understand and learn. So when you have that disconnect with the teacher, it really brings down the class for me. Um, I don't think there was anything at fault with it, but it was just, I think it was also that he structured it where we only have one piece.
Oh, for the
Yeah,
entire year?
it was the entire year. And you have to go into SEC also being able to kind of keep yourself disciplined and on top of your work. And I do lack in that in some areas. And so when I have one piece for the whole semester, I don't have things to keep me in check almost. And I really appreciate those as something that, as someone who doesn't have those tools yet and who's going to college to learn how to keep myself in check in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was almost just like too much for me by having not enough to do.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way to put it. Okay. What about actually no, I shouldn't say what about. The next question is, do you like the school as it is, or would you change anything about it?
I like how it is in terms of like the classes, but I think more on higher up, the people who are really in charge, like our president, or if that's what she's called, Elisa.
The president, yeah.
I kind of feel in those areas in that structure of our school isn't as connected to the students. And I don't know if that's with student government. And like for me, I didn't even know there was a student government. Maybe it wasn't, I wasn't involved with the school as much, but I felt that, you know, our leaders, the people that are building this school, are not connecting with us and telling us what resources we have as
Mhm.
much as I'd like that to be. Like I get the emails, but I almost feel like the emails don't have anything to do with us, but more with like
Cool.
exactly. And I wish there was more communication there. I wish there was like a stronger relationship. Um, and I wouldn't even have to say it was dependent on student government because I've talked to a lot of the people there. I mean, they seem to know what's going on with us. It's just that the other side is not connecting to them as much. And I'd like that.
Yeah, when I was going into the school, I didn't know that there was a student government, and the only reason I found out there was because of like that time when I had a crush on that guy, and then I was like, oh, his friend is this person. Oh, they're in student government. This is a student government. But you only know about it like if you know the person or if you're in charge of the club, because you have to email them to like get funds for your club and like have
Exactly.
meetings with them. Or like if you find out at the end of the year, like student government voting, and it's like,
Yeah,
why don't you guys talk about this like other times instead of just the one? Yeah.
exactly. I think that's frustrating because the people I've met, it seems like a large majority are involved with politics and are involved with how we really do care about how our school is going to function.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think it's anything in the lack of the students voicing that, but more of, are we being heard about how much we'd like to be involved, how much we really do care about what's going on? Because I know a lot of us want to come back, I know a lot of people are thinking of teaching, and that's an important role. And then you need to listen to your teachers. Like the school needs to listen to the teachers, because that's how it goes. It's like the students talk to the teachers talk to them.
Oh, someone's calling me. My mom's calling me. Okay, let's get back to this. What just happened? Okay, we're back. Let me just text her really quick so that she knows I'm doing something.
I like this plant.
Oh, this one?
At the top, they like, I was about to get all like art world term. They function well together.
Yes, this is my palm. It's some parts of it are dying, but the other parts are flourishing, which is weird. I don't know. Okay, I told her I'm talking to you. So our next question is, has your view about SAIC changed since you have started attending? Yeah, has it?
I don't know, because I didn't really have like a preconceived idea of it, when I came in. I think that I was expecting, or I was scared that it was going to be like really strict, or that I was going to have to try with the students a little, like be someone else almost.
Mm-hmm.
I was the normal things you are about college of like what's going to happen, right? The unknowns. But then SIC was more relaxed. It was also still more on top of everything, like with their education. So it was this balance of like, you're fine. This
Mm-hmm.
is fine here. And you're just here to learn it. It felt comforting to come into that environment. And so I guess I would say, don't be scared. Like, it's whatever you have the idea of, is there's so many people there. There's so many different types of things that it's like, it's safe. It's good.
Mm-hmm. What about your department? Do you feel like for photography, do you feel like you're benefiting enough from the department and like the teachers?
Yes. And I hesitate because that's only on me of like whether I'm putting in enough effort into it, of like connecting and reaching out to the people in the department. But yeah, I mean, that was where I like was scared the most, was because there were all these people who knew so much. They were professionals. So I was, of course, a student. I didn't know anything. And then the people who had been in the department for so long, who are seniors, I was scared of interacting with. But once you're in there, even as just like an intro student and you don't plan on coming back, there's just so much acceptance, because if you're coming in to learn, then they're willing to help you. So it was, I don't know, it was nice to
Mm-hmm.
have. I feel like I was scared that I wasn't going to get what I needed done and what I needed to know, and that I would have to like go through a lot of hoops, and that it was going to be really hard and daunting, but came in with just like, hey, welcome to photography. Here's all of our resources. Like, that was the other thing, is I didn't know we had so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so much
Yeah,
resources. And all
the
of it.
checkout center is insane.
Exactly. So now that I think about it, the changes that I didn't know we had all of the stuff, like all of the ways to make art, all of the, devices, machines, tools.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good surprise of how I saw SAIC.
Okay. What about your outside life? Like, because you're from Texas, so how was it moving from Texas to Chicago, and then like you also got a job? Like, how is that? How was that, and then how was like balancing your job and school? Because you got an outside job, you didn't get a on campus job.
Yeah, so I work as a hostess. Um, it's it's not hard, actually, for me though. That might be different if someone who doesn't have a job, who's never had a job, right? There's a lot of that, and that will be hard to balance. But for me, I had done it before, and it was a lot more than balancing high school and work versus college and work. There's, you have to talk more to your professors, you have to do more meetings, you have to do a lot of, if you really care about your art, you're putting a lot of time into that. So then jumping from school to work, you need to be able to mitigate that. So I I think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest if you're working, to get a job close to the school,
Mm-hmm.
because your hours become more flexible with both things. And
And
then, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead about about moving from Texas. Go ahead.
Coming from Texas, it's like the culture is different. The culture is way different. But with SIC personally, there's so many different types of people. Though there could be more diversity, there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
at if you look for it, right? You have to be open-minded. You have to want to meet all like new people to be able to get that diversity. And even then it's lacking. So I didn't feel like I was jumping from one culture to another. I felt like I was jumping from one culture to an entirely different, like multiples of it. But then coming from Texas to Chicago and living here, it's I think it's hard. I have a few friends who had come from their hometown to here, to a big city, and it weighs on you. Like if you're going through this alone, like your parents and you are not as connected, or you live far away from them, you have to, it's almost like sometimes surviving it for me. But the weather was fine. The heat is awful. So I personally loved the winters. Like the polar vortex that I had in my freshman year was just so interesting to me. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
the thing, this is the like extreme of cold, and not even then. It's just Chicago. It's the wind.
Scout, people died. It's not
What?
funny. People died.
I didn't know people died.
Yeah, from the polar vortex, people died. It was that cold. It's not funny, but it's funny that you were like, it was fine.
I didn't. Oh my God. If I had that knowledge, I would not think it was. Oh, I really meant it from the perspective of just like, I come from a hot city, and this is like.
No, that's understandable. It's the not many people talk about it. It didn't really get that much news coverage. It was just like maybe like one article talked about a college student and then like one or two homeless people or something like that.
The homeless.
Yeah. It was I found that weird though because like I saw the police, well, the police now are like but I saw law enforcement like scouting the streets for homeless people to like get them into places. So I don't know. That was just like really, really weird. But speaking of the polar vortex, that was when you were living in the dorms, and now you have your own apartment. So how was your experience with the dorms, and then why did you decide to get an apartment and things like that?
I decided to get an apartment just because I felt that it was time to take that next step of like moving forward. Personally, because I wanted to try out the dorms, because I think I wanted like the college life. Like, what is it like? Even if it's art school, it's dorms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, great way to build your community within the school, because a lot of people live there, especially at 162. It's a freshman-based dorm,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it is smart to do that, even though it's so many new people packed into one area. It lets you like just walking down the hall, getting to your dorm, you're like, oh hi, I'm Scout. Like, nice to meet you. I've seen you in the halls at Sharp before. But it was the very little amount of privacy that I had that I switched over to, just because even though you have your own room, there are things that you have to follow. You don't get to leave your house freely. And for me, who overthinks, if I like leave at 12 at night, I mean, like, what are the security guards going to think? Are they going to like lock me out? Is that possible? Like, am I going to like, are they going to follow? I mean, like, track when I'm turning in my card, things like that.
No,
And
actually, that's what I thought. I was like, will they like tell my parents what time I get home, or will they tell my parents like if I have someone over?
exactly. And it's like, also if you're friends with them, because you should talk to your security guard. They're great. They have to stay up all night sometimes, all the time. So be nice to them. They're great people. Um, you like create that relationship, and you don't want to tell them that you're leaving at 12 o'clock at night and coming back at 3 in the morning. Like that feels weird. So it's the freedom to move about. Also I wanted a stove. I needed a
Oh,
stove.
like an oven?
Yeah, but I also needed like a good stove.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That was in your room.
yeah, personally were just not my, yeah. And even the tops of it, I didn't like. And I would suggest though, if you're someone who likes being close to school and that you don't really value as much as like the space and the privacy as much, the dorms are great for you. If you like doing anything you want and not be bothered, I suggest, moving out. And moving out early sometimes helps because you've done that big step of like getting an apartment and dealing with landlords and neighbors and problems and utilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really wanted one. We were actually thinking about getting one together, but then I was like, no, I can't because because of fashion, I'll be like getting home at like 3 and then I can't take the train out.
Yeah.
It's better to walk. And then I got a single, but you moved into an apartment with your friends and then you got your own apartment.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I like, it's nice to have your own space.
It is. That applies to both dorms and like your own apartment. What I'm about to say is you really need to like work well with people and know how to communicate. And that was a big one from switching from a 3-bedroom to a 1-bedroom, was that I didn't have the tools. Both sides were just not working. So you need to figure that out. Are you someone who likes to live by yourself? Are you someone who likes to have roommates? Do you like having that security guard at the bottom of the building? Things like that. They're really important to how you're going to live, because that environment is your basis.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I feel like we covered a good amount of things. I guess the last question I have for you is any advice that you would give someone that's thinking about coming to the school or that already is coming to the school?
I would say be open-minded and be flexible, because with this school, especially a city school, an art school, there's so much change you're going to go through, and in any college, but I think it's especially true in Chicago. It's its own world for me, and if you come almost not prepared, but maybe just not ready, if you know you're not ready, wait for a second, because it's constantly going, it's fast paced, and it's easy to like fuck up and skip a step, and sometimes that's not the best thing, right? So when you're open-minded and you're ready for these things or excited for these things, it's the journey through it and the experience through it is so much fun. And choosing your classes when you really love it, if you know you really love it, the whole experience just is 10 times more.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Scout, for letting me interview you. I'm very excited for people to watch this if they do. Well, I'm gonna end the recording. We can say bye. I mean, like, we can still talk after this, but let's just like for the video. Bye.